Well, what a week I've had. Because there's no more Survivor, I've started watching International Survivor, and gotta say, South Africa, Season 6, not bad. I started playing Among Us, and I gotta say, that game is addicting. I had a ham and cheese sammer for lunch, so... Actually, you know what? This sounds pretty mundane, so I guess not all that much was really happening. Oh, and I'm falling to my death. So, I guess there's that. So you might ask, how did we get to this point? Well, it all started at the beginning of this review. Hello everyone, and welcome to another animated look back. Back to the year 2010. Inception was the movie everybody was talking about, Twilight was still the worst thing ever, and we had not one, but two animated movies about supervillains. I remember it clearly because they were oddly similar, both about evil geniuses who had an evil plan. One had Steve Carell and the other had Will Ferrell. And both of those actors have a very similar style of humor. Both mainly going for a dry, slick wit, but then can turn it up to over-the-top yelling in a heartbeat.
No! God, please, no! 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 Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Now this review, of course, is going to be mainly focused on Megamind. There are going to be some slight comparisons I'm going to take here and there, just because it's inevitable. Both of these movies, they beg for there to be some comparison, just like A Bug's Life and Ants. Maybe into the future we'll do a review of Despicable Me and we can go into more detail about the pros and cons of that movie. But if this was a discussion of which one of these movies won the war, it's obviously Despicable Me. I mean, there's only one Megamind movie, there's 3 Despicable Me movies, and 2 of the Minion movie spin-offs, so that alone right there tells you which one of them was a monster hit. However, that doesn't answer the question of which one of them was a better movie. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. So let's take a look at Megamind and see if we can put that answer to rest. So first things first, let's look at this story. Now I've got to give DreamWorks a lot of credit because they really blindsided me with what the story was really about, because the trailers made it look like it was going to be a superhero versus supervillain movie with the villain getting into some fun antics and the hero saving the day. And I gotta say, the trailer looked kind of bad. Yeah, it didn't look good. And then I started watching the movie, and while it gave me some laughs at first, it was pretty much what I expected it to be. The villain abducts the damsel, then the hero comes to save the day. But then...
Your weakness is copper? You're kidding, right? Move
I gotta say, this moment threw me for a loop. I had no idea this was coming, and I had no idea what was gonna happen after it. This movie asks the question, what happens when the villain who always loses finally wins? Although I will say the second trailer kind of spoiled it for me because they showed the scenes that Metro Man is in later in the movie. What's wrong with you? I mean, seriously, why would you show that? It's not like those scenes were so amazingly funny that you just had to include them. I hate it when they do that sort of thing. Anyway, so I could pick up that the character wasn't dead, but I had no idea what was going to happen. And this is the type of story that I've never seen before, because there's usually 2 types of villains in comic books. One is the villain who has all of his evil schemes that the hero keeps trying to stop and fails. And the other is one whose only reason for being a villain is to fight the hero. And when written well, that can give you villains like Lex Luthor or the Joker, ones that are just so obsessed with the hero. But when written badly, it can just be somebody who's like, why are you even a villain in the first place? All you want to do is fight the hero. And this movie asks the question, what if that villain won? What would they do next? And in this movie, it's really interesting to see Megamind go through this crisis of identity. First he's like, I can do whatever I want. And then he's like, Well, all he really wanted to do was to fight Metro Man.
Minion, I'm a villain without a hero. A yin with no yang. A bullfighter with no bull to fight. In other words, I have no purpose.
And since he has no purpose anymore, he tries to make a new hero, and then in the process finds out, well, maybe he's not actually as evil as he thinks he is. I love how dark the story starts with, like, it goes whole Superman parody with the destruction of not one but 2 planets, and yet it has such an amazingly bitter tone to it. The world this movie creates is one that's almost normal, but not quite, because everything's over the top. Like, for example, how Megamind just lands in a prison and just ends up staying there.
A place that taught me the differences between right and wrong.
I mean, come on, this isn't like Bane in Santa Prisca. He's a baby. Did the guards never notice him? Okay, gentlemen, you know the drill. Lights out, everyone. Is that a baby? Yeah, it is. Sir, do you mind telling me why there is a big blue baby in here? He's in here for blue-collar crimes. Sir, that's not a thing. Oh, my shift's over, not my problem. Oh, that was a close one. Okay, now repeat after me. Screw that guy. The opening is really good. You know, it shows why Megamind decided to become the way he was and why Metro Man became the way he is, because everything was so easy for him. Although, I will say, I'm not a fan of the very beginning. Let me just put it this way. I'm not a fan of when movies go, oh, see this scene? This is going to happen later in the movie. But it's not going to happen yet. We're just starting here, and then we're going to go back to the beginning. Why? It's more dramatic this way. See, because then you're like, oh no, he's going to die. Even though he's the narrator of this story. He's going to die, and that's how the movie ends. See? That's what, and then we put a twist, and he doesn't die. That's, whoo! Isn't that great? No, it's boring and it's pointless because, while I do understand that there is a need for the narration in the beginning, because he has to tell what happened to his planet and everything, I don't feel the need to start at the end like that, to be like, oh, here I am, falling to my death. I don't feel the need, or I got my heart broken, and blah, 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 blah. Like, the narration doesn't come later in the film. At least with other films, when they do this sort of thing, they can have some fun with it. Like, I loved how in Emperor's New Groove, he was narrating stuff that happened to him earlier in the film, but he would interact with it. You know, he'd come on the screen and he'd be like, this movie is about me, not him. Okay? You know, I love that sort of thing. Like, that was funny. They just did something creative with it. Here, there's nothing. It's just, here's how I die. And then at the end, I'm not gonna die. It's kind of pointless. But besides that, I really like the setup of this movie. You know, I really like Megamind's escape from the prison. It's really funny and creative.
He's tricked us.
You were right.
I'll always be a villain.
Not to mention his banter with Roxy is great as well.
Could someone stamp my frequent kidnapping card?
You of all people know we discontinued that promotion.
I will say, in terms of the story, the ending of this film ends a little bit too neat for me, but I'll get to that later. Overall, I think the way it tells its story is fairly decent with a few hiccups here and there. First off, gotta ask the classic question, how's the animation? I would say it's pretty good. It handles the fight sequences very well, enough to be entertaining, suspenseful, and funny. All the flying scenes are great. The character animation's pretty good, as you were able to follow what the characters are saying and feeling. There's nothing I would point to and say, oh, that's bad, but there's also not a lot that I would point to as being absolutely mind-blowing amazing either. It's just very good. Let's take a look at the characters, and I want to start with Metro Man.
All right, put your hands in the air.
Obviously, he's a stand-in for Superman because if you ever do a parody of anything superhero-related, it has to be a parody of Superman. I remember the first time I watched this film, I didn't really like Brad Pitt's voice for Metro Man, but that was before I got into what they were doing with him. It was real cheesy, but not in a way that made me laugh. Although when we find out that he didn't die in the explosion, and we see that scene that is like a version of Superman, if he was like, screw you guys, I'm going home. That is a really interesting scene, and actually has quite a few laughs.
We had done this same silly charade our entire lives. I tried to get my mind off how I was feeling, but I just felt stuck.
So in that regard, it's okay, but there is one thing with the way his character was handled that I don't really like. I don't like how the movie is kind of okay with him giving up. Like, they play it off as, this is okay, it's alright. It's not really. Look, I don't want to go full comic book nerd here, but hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And yeah, I can understand how someone could get tired of it and leave to want to do something else. But in this world, there doesn't seem to be anybody else who is super powered. If you take that responsibility of being the city's protector, you can't just drop them and leave them in the lurch with no plan to see that you are replaced or relieved. I'm sorry, that's a dick move.
Save me, super guy!
No.
You're a dick!
I like at least how Roxanne doesn't seem to buy it, why she's like, you abandoned us! You left us with this guy!
How could you do this? The people of the city relied on you and you deserted them. You left us in the hands of him. No offense.
No, I'm with you.
The lesson seems to be like, hey, somebody will eventually stand up and do the right thing.
There's a yin for every yang. If there's bad, good will rise up against it.
That's not a good lesson. The lesson should be the only thing needed for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change that in the movie. I just would have liked it if the movie would have really beat up on him more, for him just saying, hey, peace out, you're on your own, sucker! Next we have Minion, Megamind's trusty assistant, played by David Cross.
Your plan is failing. Just admit it.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Whose side are you on?
The losing side.
Thank you.
And yes, he is better than all of the Minions combined.
There's a doormat here that says secret entrance.
Minion!
I kept forgetting where it was.
She'll discover all our secrets!
I mean, David Cross is just having a ball with this role, you know? He does a good job with it. His banter and friendship with Megamind is done very well, and you find the character believable and how he comes across. You like how he doesn't really get Megamind when he's starting to turn good. He's like, what are you even doing? Who are you? But then once he gets on board with it, he's full for it and everything. I don't know. David Cross did a good job.
You got me.
Good luck, fellas!
We're gonna die!
Wait, what?
I want to talk about Will Ferrell next, because he's just great as Megamind, as the cackling, over-the-top villain who says he's so evil and so diabolical, but is really just somebody who wants people to pay attention to him.
First off, what a turnout! How wild is this, huh?
He didn't have any friends as a kid, and anytime he tried to be good, it would always blow up in his face.
Being bad is the one thing I'm good at. Then it hit me. If I was the bad boy, then I was going to be the baddest boy of them all.
Which I think is actually a realistic and relatable motivation. You have kids out there who keep on finding themselves in bad situations, and then people tell them, you're a bad kid, you're a bad student, you're a bad teenager, whatever. And they're like, you know what? If this is what I am, then might as well embrace it, go with it all the way. I'm a bad kid? Fine, let me be a bad kid. I think that's something that happens in real life, and I think it's fun motivation for this to take in a silly super villain sort of way. I always believe the character's motivation and the things he's struggling with, but Will Ferrell adds such energy to the role that he constantly makes me laugh. He even has one of my top 5 or 10 favorite jokes of all time.
What have you done with Bernard?
Oh, Bernard? Oh, yes. I'm doing horrible things to that man. I don't want to get into it, but lasers, spikes. Oh, please, no! Not the lasers and the spikes! You know the drill. Oh, no, not the drill!
I don't know why, I just find that funny. Now, does every joke land? No, I don't get why he doesn't know what a window is. I mean, that doesn't seem to make any sense and just brings up way more questions.
That, sir, is called a window. All the kids are looking through them.
But for the most part, his character is always entertaining, always believable, and I'm with him throughout the whole film. I find him believable as he struggles with his identity and what he actually wants. For a character like this, there are a few things they need in order to be successful. First, they need to actually be funny, and he's got that down.
Time to put the past behind us. Only the future. Ah! Oh, I'm too close. I'm genuinely scared right now. Oh, I hope no one's seeing this. Oh.
Second, he actually needs to be a villain, not just in name only. He has to need to do some evil or diabolical things. And sure, while he doesn't do everything that he thinks he did, like he didn't kill Metro Man, he still does evil things. He robs banks, he holds the city hostage for a little bit. You know, I buy Megamind as a villain who just has some personality things that he needs to get through. Where in Despicable Me, Guru is just a jerk. You know, he really doesn't do too many things villainous except for stealing the moon, I guess. But for the most part, he's just a jerk to everybody, and that's not evil.
He even made a cheap replica of his dehydration gun. How?
And finally, one thing you really need is you have to make him sympathetic to the audience, so they just don't see him as an unlikable douchebag.
Do you really think that I would ever be with you?
And these are all things that the movie gets right. I sympathize with both his backstory and how he struggles with his whole identity after Metro Man dies. But he is still a villain, still does villainous things like blowing stuff up, taking over the city. But he is still likable because he never comes from a place of malice. It's because, you know, it's like, what else are we gonna do? I'm supposed to be the bad guy. I have to do these things. Now, as I said, this video is going to be drawing too much comparisons to Despicable Me, but one of the big reasons I don't really care for that movie is Gru is just a jerk, and that's about it. He isn't terribly funny. I mean, he has some good lines, but he isn't hilarious, and his evil stuff normally just involves him being a jerk. And his sympathetic motivation is that his mother didn't love him enough, which is not as interesting as having this big ego rivalry with this thing and being lonely and not getting the attention that he really required as a child. I don't know, I guess maybe it's a little similar. I'm just saying they handle it way better in Megamind. I find him way more sympathetic, where Gru I just find as a douchebag. I mean, by the end of this film, Megamind decides that he really wants to help people instead of hurt them, where Gru doesn't really feel sorry for what he did, at least not in the first one. I haven't seen the other ones. The lesson is more about finding what really matters, which doesn't really work for a story about a supervillain. Anyway, do I find Will Ferrell funny? Yes, I do. Do I find him sympathetic? Absolutely. Do I find his character still acts villainous? Absolutely as well. So, they check all the boxes for me. And I even buy the romance that blooms between him and Roxanne.
None of the other kids really liked me. I was always the last one picked for everything.
It's too bad that we didn't go to the same school.
Anyway, Roxanne starts to investigate what Megamind is up to, and Megamind accidentally ropes himself into pretending to be a guy called Bernard, and he becomes her partner as they form a strong bond. And for once in his life, somebody's paying attention to him. Somebody takes a genuine interest in who he is as a person. She's taken an interest in him, and he is getting positive attention for maybe the first time in his entire life, where before he only got attention for doing evil things. And this is another thing that I believe happens in the real world. I do believe people sometimes just do bad things because that's the only time anyone ever pays any attention to them. But they end up pushing everybody away because of it. And because of this, I really enjoy the conflict of identity that happens because of this. Both on who he is as a villain without a hero, and just who he is as a person.
Bernard, I never knew you were so funny.
And I never heard you laugh before.
Yeah, it's been a while. Feels pretty good.
Not to say that everything handled with Megamind is perfect. There are some things that I kind of have some issues with, but I'm going to get into that a little later. Tina Fey is the voice of Roxanne Ritchie, the reporter who at the start keeps on being kidnapped by Megamind to draw out Metro Man, but after Metro Man's death, she takes a more proactive role in taking Megamind down. Her character is really the only one in this movie that is trying to do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, she's the only one that walks away from this movie that you can say, that's a good role model. I mean, sure, Megamind does the right thing in the end, but he has a long way to go before he could be considered a role model. I mean, the way she investigates, she stands up for herself, she tries to fight the power, they all are ways that you should do when you're trying to do what's right. However, I will say though, the film is a little icky when it comes to certain parts of the film. And I don't know, in ways that other movies are not. Just in the ways that some of the other characters treat her. Like, first off, we have Hal, who is the real villain of the movie after Megamind accidentally infuses him with the power of Metro Man to make him the new hero of the city, so he will have someone to fight. Hal is obsessed with Roxanne to the point where it's actually, like, really creepy stalker-like.
I don't really feel like being around a bunch of people.
No, that's the best part. It'll just be like you and me.
But
I did hire a wedding photographer. That's just in case we were like something crazy happened and we wanted a picture of it, like maybe we should have this for like ever, like a memory, you know?
I mean, we've seen in movies where the villain likes the main leading lady of the film before, like Gaston and Beauty and the Beast and so on and so forth. But in here it feels creepier.
I have a cape. I'm the good guy.
you are a good guy, Hal. But you don't understand. We need to find out why. Hal,
This
just take a
isn't
deep
right.
breath and listen
You're
to me for a
supposed to
moment.
be with me.
This is the first time I felt like a character in the same room with another character, like if this wasn't a movie made for kids, if he wasn't stopped, Roxanne would be tweeting out #MeToo in her future. I know that's dark and it's weird to say that, but that's how it feels. Now, I understand what they're going for. Hal has one of those nice guys personalities where they think they're such nice guys, but really they berate and try to humiliate the person they are rejected by.
Let me guess. After seeing how awesome I am, you finally come to your senses. Well, I'm over you.
And in that respect, it's handled well. Hal is consistently that type of character. You know, he keeps on trying to say and do romantic things for her, but when he is rejected, he's full-on psychopath towards her. And honestly, it makes Hal an intimidating villain. I mean, when he's going around destroying the city, you buy that he would do that because he's a weak nobody who has now gone mad with power and feels like he has all the power in the world and no one can stop him from doing whatever the heck he wants. Now, let's just say some of the things he does is Homelander-esque.
Oh, you can take me to jail now.
Oh, no. I was thinking more like the morgue. You're dead.
Whoa. This isn't how you play the game.
Game over.
I mean, he goes up over the city and heat visions the word Titanville into the downtown area. I mean, gosh, think of the hundreds of people that he killed just by doing that. But even though he has power, you know that he's just still the same insecure douchebag, but now with all the power in the world. And that is a dangerous combination. Jonah Hill does the voice of Hal, and he does a good job of getting the point across. The problem with it, though, is that it doesn't make Hal a fun villain. He is an intimidating villain, despite him not being all that smart. But, like say, when you look at a villain like, Syndrome, he can be menacing, but also fun. Even a villain that, loves the lady like Gaston, sure, he wants to bang Belle, but he is still a fun bad guy, where Hal, he just comes across as creepy, and it's not all that fun. But back to my original point with Roxanne, she feels like she's in danger of being assaulted by this one guy, but she's also being catfished by Megamind. Now, true, I might be overthinking this, but in the scene where Roxanne thinks she's talking to Bernard, and then they end up kissing until the Megamind's watch short circuits, and then he's revealed that it was him the whole time. Isn't that sexual assault? I mean, she thought she was kissing Bernard when she wasn't. She did not give her consent to Megamind to kiss her, and so he was taking advantage of a situation. I don't know, that seems really icky to me. I mean, I know this exact scenario has never happened in real life, but okay, let's say there was a situation where a girl was dating this guy who had a twin brother, and one day the twin pretended to be the boyfriend and kissed that guy's girlfriend. That's kind of how I relate to this scene. It's just icky. He's kissing her without her consent. And it's not like Megamind comes clean or anything. He has found out and then it all falls apart from there. Now, it isn't to say that I don't get where the character is coming from and why he would do what he did, how he feels like nobody in the world would ever love him for who he is, but it still would have been better before they kissed if he stopped and showed her who he really was. That not only would have made the scene not icky, but also it would have been better for the character, because then Megamind, he's like, you know what, I gotta do the right thing. He reveals himself to Roxanne. Roxanne's disgusted with him, leaves him behind. Then he's like, you know what, there it is. I tried to do the right thing. I tried to be good. Now I'm gonna go and be bad again. again. I'm going to be my best evil self. And then you continue on the scenes from there where he goes and tries to fight Hal and blah, blah, blah. You can continue on from there. I just feel like that would have worked better if he wasn't found out. You know, if he tries to do the right thing and gets rejected for it. And, you know, that is still there in the film. He still realizes that, oh, I'm a bad guy and I am not going to be anything other than a bad guy. But I think it would have worked better if he just tried to do the right thing, and that's when he gets rejected and decides he can only be evil. I think they really wanted to make that joke of him trying to find the right person to pretend to be. And yeah, it's kind of funny, but I think it comes at the expense of some important character stuff you could have done with it. And, like I said, a little icky. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the movie is ruined because of this, but it's just something I wish they handled differently. But overall, I really like Roxanne. She's really funny.
I say we go back to the evil lair, grab some ray guns, hold him sideways, and just go all gangsta on him.
Especially in the scenes in the beginning where she is just so over being kidnapped all the time.
What's this? Boom! In your face.
Cliche.
No! Look! Watch!
Juvenile.
Shock and awe!
Tacky.
The one thing that I do have a problem with is that every other character has a change in this film from something to something else. Megamind, villain to hero, Metro Man, hero to deadbeat loser, Hal, loser to villain. And even though it's Roxanne who does all the mystery on the uncovering and is trying to do the right thing, although, to be fair, I don't really know how she did her mystery. She just hung up a bunch of things on the wall, backed up, and it spelled Titan in the big costume, and it was like, well, how did you even do that? How did that even happen? Why is this the thing you used for your main credits? Yeah, I don't get that apart at all. But anyway, she still stays the damsel in distress and is being rescued. You know, her character's point in the movie doesn't change. And that I don't like. But you know what I thought would have been really creative? What if Megamind used whatever technology he used to make Titan and used that to infuse Roxanne with the Metro Man powers? You know, maybe he doesn't have as good of a dose or good of technology, so it's not as powerful. So, you know, Titan is still the stronger one of the two. But then that way, Roxanne goes from the damsel in distress to the hero. And, okay, it would also just work better with the ending of the film that I had in mind. Because, let me just, you know, we're here, might as well talk about it. I don't like the way this movie ends. Now, it's not written badly or anything, and it has some good moments here and there. Like, I love how he turns himself into a water cube so he won't die from falling. I love the deception of him pretending to be Metro Man and Minion pretending to be Megamind. I love this part.
Oh, you're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
What I don't like is this part.
All right, put your hands in the air.
Because it makes no sense! I mean, why would this city love him all of a sudden? He took over the whole city! He robbed every bank and art museum possible! From the city and the world's perspective, he still killed Metro Man! Nobody else knows that he's still alive! How on earth would this city just let him be their hero after all of that? And I know DreamWorks movies at this time, and it on a big old dance number, like it was a Bollywood picture or something, but it feels forced. It doesn't fit for the ending of this story. If you wanted to make your ending actually make sense, here's what I would have done. I would have Megamind go back to prison, but this time he's okay with it because he finally did the right thing. Roxanne finds a note that leads her to the secret lair where she finds this tube with the superpowers in it. With a message from Megamind saying he's sorry and how she's the only one that deserves these powers. She takes them, we skip ahead a few months, and now she's the hero of the city. But because her superpowers had already been transferred to one other person, she isn't as powerful as Metro Man. So she puts in a request to the city to have Megamind assigned to her as her tech guy and make gadgets and upgrades to help them better protect the city. Now, you don't have them kiss at the end. It's very important because, you know, she's still getting to relearn this relationship and who he is. He needs to earn her trust back, but at the end, you can have them with a little bit of a flirtatious encounter, a little bit of fun, flirtatious banter, and then maybe you could have a scene with them dancing alone or something like that. Because that would have made so much more sense to me. It doesn't make any sense that, oh, because you defeated this villain who we thought, you know, he was saving us from you, but now you saved us from this villain, you're now our hero? It doesn't work. Like, even though this movie and its world is so over the top that Metro Man can juggle babies, it doesn't feel like it's so over the top that makes sense. The fact that he just goes from villain to hero and nobody cares about anything he did before that is just too much of a stress for me, but it isn't a deal breaker. I guess because the movie took some of its scenes really seriously, the part of me almost wishes that it went full Incredibles on it and makes its world make sense and more serious as well. But I guess to its core, Megamind is still a movie that is essentially a Lex Luthor Superman parody. And so, in that regard, you can't take it too seriously. I just feel like that sort of ending would have sent the better message, not do the right thing one time and all your sins are forgotten. No, you gotta earn back your place in the world, you gotta do your time. Overall, Megamind is a fun but flawed film. I know the reasons I like it so much is because I'm into superheroes. So, it has some moments that lag, and I still don't get some of the plot points, but overall, I'm with the characters from start to finish. I want to see how the story ends. I laughed, and I did feel an emotional connection. However, I will say that there's nothing about this movie that necessarily blows me away. I will say this, it's not annoying. And so I put the leagues ahead of Despicable Me. Yeah, no secret, I like this movie way better than Despicable Me. It's not that big of a secret. It's still a fun movie. I definitely recommend it. There are some scenes that I think if it was written now would have been handled a little bit differently, and I think could have been handled a little bit better. But I think in the terms of where DreamWorks was when it came out, this is probably the best they could do. And so I am giving Megamind a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. It will keep you entertained, but I feel like if they just changed a few things here and there, I could have found myself loving this even more. But hey, for the movie we got, it's not a bad one. So thanks for watching my animated look back, everybody. And since the last review I did before this was We're Back, it was voted in, with We're Back coming in first, Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood, coming in second, and The Rescuers coming in third. So here's how I'm going to continue to do this voting thing. Although occasionally I might just choose a film for myself just because I want to review it. The way it's going to work from here on is whatever film got the second amount of votes will continue forward to the next round of voting whenever it's, in this case, a 2D movie, because I do 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D in my reviews. So Robin Hood will stay on the ballot. You can still vote for that one, but we'll get 2 more other movies that you can also vote for, and we'll see which one wins out. So make sure you vote for your favorite. The movie that gets the most votes will be the next review. The movie with the second amount of votes will be still in the running for the next time that comes up. And the third one will just leave by the wayside until maybe another day. So your picks for this time are Disney's Robin Hood, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, or All Dogs Go to Heaven. I'm interested in see which one you pick. But until next time, I am Lazy Dude, and see you on the next animated look back. Bye. Alright, I'm falling to my death. But don't worry, I didn't die. See, wasn't that pointless?